Conspiracy theory number 5. COVID-19 was caused by 5G and microchips. Like the 4G towers before them, the 5G towers are also getting their share of hate, as many people, especially during the early days of the pandemic, believed that the 5G towers were the ones causing the virus. However, in 2022, it's no longer cool to say that coronavirus is fake. Conspiracy theorists have moved to greener pastures and are now saying that the vaccines are fake, as in they're not real vaccines. And so, the 5G conspiracy theory adapted to the new anti-vaccine fad, and people now believe that the 5G towers will activate the microchips in the vaccines, because of course the vaccines have microchips inside of them. What are these microchips going to be used for, you ask? Well, there are a lot of different answers. Some say that the microchips will be used by the government to track your every move, because apparently the phone that's in your pocket or right next to you at all times was not good enough. Others say that the microchips are just going to kill you, because of course they are. But the majority of people that believe in this conspiracy theory probably don't have an answer, because critical thinking is not one of their strong suits. Who would have thunk? Conspiracy theory number 4. The COVID-19 vaccines are a depopulation tool. Ever since the internet dawned upon man, there has always been an avid group of people which proclaim that certain pandemics are a hoax, which are made by the global elite to trick everyday citizens into getting vaccinated so they can depopulate the planet. Now, although this conspiracy theory has been consistently showing up during major pandemics and has been consistently wrong, people still believe that this plot is real this time. This is mainly due to people being scared of a chaotic situation and trying to reason with themselves by believing in hearsay, but they won't tell you that. No, instead they'll point to Bill Gates' TED Talk, which he made years ago saying that he hopes that vaccines will kill people. Now, if you're skeptical about believing that the world's richest person at the time said to a crowd of people in a TED Talk of all places that he wants vaccines to kill people, then congratulations, you are probably not a moron. Bill Gates did say that with high vaccination rates, birth rates would go down.
Now that's back from high school algebra, but let's take a look. First, we've got population. The world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%. But there we see an increase of about 1.3.
No, not because vaccines sterilize people. It's because that statistically it has been shown that with higher vaccination rates and more broadly higher healthcare quality leads to a lessened birth rate. But if you are still convinced that the global elite wants to kill the majority of their workforce, the people who upkeep the roads, cook their food, clean their homes, and drive them to work, well, I have nothing to say to you. Go back to Ben.video. Conspiracy theory number 3. The COVID-19 vaccines were rushed. Unlike the other two conspiracy theories, I can actually see this theory being a real concern. After all, the vaccines came out in record time, faster than any other vaccine before it. However, there are 3 main reasons as to why this is the case. Firstly, if you have ever played a game of Plague Inc. Evolved, then you know how annoying it is when the entire world is trying to make a cure for your virus. Much like Plague Inc., since basically the entire world was trying to make a vaccine for coronavirus, the production time was lowered massively, since the pool of information, researchers, and producers was so large. More people trying to make vaccine equals faster vaccine release. I know, it's very complex math, so just try and stay with me. The second reason is Operation Warp Speed. Operation Warp Speed was a United States operation in which the government funded these 8 companies to expedite and develop vaccines. However, out of these 8 candidates, only 3 have vaccines which are currently being given to the public. Operation Warp Speed also did not remove any safety regulations from vaccines. Instead, the goal of the operation was to remove all the bureaucracy behind developing vaccines and allow for companies to expedite their developments as soon as results showed. The Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine was not a part of this operation. However, Pfizer did receive about $450 million by the German government in early 2020, and eventually the US government made an advanced order of 100 million doses for the price of $2 billion. Lastly, unlike most anti-vaxxers, doctors and researchers in the early 2000s used their common sense. Using this divine power, they deduced that the next pandemic would most likely be another coronavirus, as both SARS and MERS were coronaviruses. So they began researching possible vaccines long before COVID-19 was a thing at all. Conspiracy theory number 2. The COVID-19 pandemic was created to begin the Great Reset. I don't even know where to begin with this one. Basically, the global elites have manufactured the virus to make everyone want a vaccine. The vaccine is going to kill them or sterilize them. I don't know which one. It changes every day. The percentage of people that didn't die or didn't get sterilized for some reason are going to live in a dystopia where they own absolutely nothing and will become pseudo-slaves to the global elite. The stock shortages, vaccines, and inflation all have to do with this somehow. The global elites are also going to introduce a single currency which the world will use as its standard, because the people who made this conspiracy theory have no idea of the US dollar standard. This is all based on an extremely vague video which is on the World Economic Forum's YouTube channel, where it essentially just plays a bunch of stock footage, and conspiracy theorists went full English teacher on this video and interpreted from this video that everything I said before was going to happen. Now, I'm not going to go into detail as to what the World Economic Forum actually means when they say Great Reset, because Economics Explained made a much better video than I could ever do myself. So if you're interested, I'm simply going to link his video in the description. And finally, the idea that coronavirus and everything after 2019 is simply a fever dream, and that we are all going to wake up soon. Now, I don't have to tell you why this is a crazy conspiracy theory. I mean, that wouldn't even make any sense. Do you know how visceral all this felt? Do you know how much events happened throughout those 2 years?
Hey, you. You're finally awake.